If you're funny and you know it, clap your hands. If you're not and you know it, clap your hands. If funny's not your cause and you're in need of big ha-has, if you'd like to be funny and you know it, clap your hands. Go ha-ha. Go ha-ha-ho. Go ha-ha-ho-he. Go ha-ha-ho-he-ho. Okay, that's enough. I know. Enough is enough already. But laughter is good for you, isn't it? Wasn't that fun? I mean, laughter has no calories, no caffeine, no cholesterol, no MSG, no preservatives, no salt, no sodium, no sugar. And when you laugh, so much of you has a good time. And God has a sense of humor, doesn't she? Sure she does. So if something sounds funny, just go with it. Humor is a leadership quality, having a good sense of humor. When you have a good sense of humor, and you have humor present in the workplace, employees are more productive, they're more creative, they're more innovative, and they get along better with other people. And the most important thing, well, maybe most important to some of you, is that a sense of humor is the most desired trait in a mate. No wonder everyone wants a sense of humor. So can you have a sense of humor? Of course you can. All you have to do is activate your GPS. Now I know what you're thinking. GPS is Global Positioning Satellite. Well, it's similar in a sense that it does provide direction through life's magical journey. It helps you navigate through life's inconveniences. But this GPS stands for gotta. Like got to, like have to, gotta play some. GPS. Gotta play some. See, play is just letting go of worry, anxiety, and pressure, and embracing the positive emotions of curiosity, spontaneity, love, a true spirit of playfulness. So we need an anchor. We need you to be able to remember how to activate that GPS when you're going through life's challenges. Okay? All right, the universal sign for play is the old, for those of you who know that, the hang loose. All right, everybody at home, wherever you're watching this, I can see you. Come on, put them up. Let's go. Everybody. All right, this is GPS. Too much stress? GPS. Life's a mess. GPS. Under great duress? GPS. It's as simple as that, but you really need to mentally, and I think it's even good to physically do the GPS. You see, no matter where you are in your life right now, there's somebody that has it a lot worse than you that's figured out a way to be happy. And there's somebody that has it a lot better than you that's figured out a way to be miserable. And it starts with your sense of humor. How many would say you have a pretty good sense of humor? How many used to have a good sense of humor? How many have never had a sense of humor, and that's why you are on this webcast tonight? See, a sense of humor is much more than the ability to tell jokes, because anyone with a sense of timing and a memory can tell jokes. The true test of a sense of humor is your ability to take yourself lightly during tense situations. It's the ability to find something funny in your predicaments. Now, when I was growing up, if I wanted my father to lose his sense of humor, all I would have to do is bring home my report card. When I was 15 years old, C's and D's. My dad beat me to the mailbox. Our report card was sent home. Dinner time, he pulls out my report card. He says, "Scott, what is this?" I said, "Dad, come on. It's one person's opinion. Must we discuss it?" "Yeah, I think we must. How come Andy doesn't get C's and D's on his report card?" Now, Andy was a good buddy of mine growing up. I could never quite measure up to Andy in so many cases. I said, "Dad, You can't compare me to Andy. We are so much different. He said, oh, are you? How are you so much different? I said, Dad, Andy has very bright parents. Should have never said that. Not the thing to say. Oh, got in a lot of trouble for that one. All right? But no matter what causes you to lose your sense of humor, it's the ability to activate the GPS, the gotta play some. See, the true spirit of laughter encourages the belief that there is good in bad situations. And it's looking for the good that allows you to find the funny, or looking for the funny that allows you to find the good when other people can't. What do you do when you feel the stress creeping up your back and into your shoulders and your neck? Do you have a strategy? See, humor is just pain, embarrassment, or stress, distanced by time. But the thing is, we need to learn to laugh while we're going through the stress right then. The number one signal of job burnout is a diminished sense of humor, not being able to laugh at daily on-the-job situations. So it's being able to provide the emotional distance away from that stress before the stress destructs your immune system. So what do? You take a 1 minute humor break. A 1 minute humor break, that's all it takes. All right? What is in that 1 minute humor break? Well, I want to share a few of my favorite 1 minute humor breaks with you. You feel the stress creeping up your back? How about first celebrating the first stress of the day? All right? What's a typical stressor for you? Computer problems seem like all across the globe is a universal problem, right? All right, how do you normally react to, let's say your computer crashes, you lose some pretty important material. All right, how would you normally respond to that? Oh, computer problems. Computers are evil. They're the devil. They're going to be the destruction of humankind. All right, that may be a little dramatic, but you get the point, right? Next time, how about this? Computer problems again. Ha ha ha. Celebration time. Then you go out and you get a cup of coffee and a latte and a croissant and you celebrate. A little crazy? Yeah, it is a little bit crazy, but the point is, stress is not an event. It's a perception of an event. And we can use humor to color our perception of reality. You have so much more control over your emotions than you give yourself credit for. If you can laugh at the first stress of the day or celebrate it, you can do the same with the 7th, the 10th, the 14th, the 19th. So celebrate the first stress of the day. Another 1 minute humor break is swear words or profanity. How many of you use that as a strategy, but you didn't even know it was a strategy? All right, and you're watching with someone whose hand should be up, maybe? Okay, this is swear words with a twist. Here's how it works. You write down all of your favorite swear words on a piece of paper. All right? Some of you may need the back. Then you give each swear word a number, 1 through 30, 31 through 60. The next time something upsets you, instead of screaming out the swear word, you just scream out the number. 3, 13, 7, 11, your mother, 9, 42. Yeah, I got your 13 right here. I got your 13. You immediately relieve the stress, then people around you start to wonder what those numbers mean. Don't get near Bill. You know how he is when he screams 7. Trust me, stay away today. Just stay away. And I think my favorite 1 minute humor break would be to call your home phone from your hand phone and relieve the stress there. You with me? All right, it would be something like this. Beep. Scott, this is Scott. You're like me, and I know I am. You're not having a very good day. Computer problems, traffic, relationships, kids, life balance. It's the worst. My self-esteem is so low that even my imaginary friend won't play with me. Oh, no need to call me back. I'll just see you when you get home. And do me a favor, will you? Clean up the place a little. All righty. I love you. Bye. Sound a little silly? Yeah, it's a little silly, but that's the point. In order to break the pattern of stress, we need to be a little bit ridiculous at times. Sometimes it's just thinking outrageous thoughts. Other times it's actually doing outrageous things. But it helps distance yourself away from the problem when you can take that 1-minute humor break. See, if it's not fatal, it's just small stuff. If you can laugh at it, you can survive it. The 1-minute humor break. It's the ability to accept your current reality. Whatever's happening in your life at that time, all the pressures that are placed on you and that you place on yourself, expectations, demands, and whatever heartache you may have in your life. And it seems that we have a lot of heartache, more than I can remember, around the world right now. When I was 20 years old, I lost a brother to suicide who was 21 years old. And I knew from that point on I would never take life for granted again. I realized how fragile life really is. I was the very first speaker after the Columbine massacre, when those kids were killed in Colorado by their classmates. The very first speaker to speak to the administrators, the very first time they were out of the building. And I weighed those words so heavy that morning. And one of the things that I said was, your job is not to stop mourning, but to stop only mourning and give yourself permission to live again. Because the worst things in life always contain some seeds of the best. If we're willing to open up, let time pass, and learn the lessons. It says in the Kabbalah that the purpose of darkness, the only purpose of darkness, is to transform and convert it into light. Now, my mother, having lost one son and having another son in his 40s, who's still single, by the way, and that's really what the major stressor is to my mother, is she's been trying to get me married off for years, and nothing has seemed to work. She said, Scott, maybe because you travel so much, maybe the future Mrs. Friedman lives in another city. You know what you need to do? You need to join one of those internet dating services. You know the kind I'm talking about? Match.com, Soulmate.com, will you please marry my son.com. And all you do is you fill out a questionnaire, you put in what you're looking for, the timer spins around a couple hundred times, and just like magic, you got dates. It is a beautiful concept. So I'm speaking in Boston, Massachusetts, moved from my hometown in Denver, about 2,000 or so kilometers. I'm thinking, what the heck? I'm going to give this a shot. I fill out the questionnaire, I put in what I'm looking for, the timer starts to spin around, and you have that fear. The fear is that it's going to come back the answer, and it's going to say, no service provided, no date for you. But actually, over 200 possible dates came back for Boston. I only have one night. Now you play the fantasy in your mind, but you know it's not going to work. So now the tricky part. How many emails am I going to have to send out to get the one date? Now I'm a decent guy. I can communicate. I'm thinking if I send out 6, I should be able to get one date. I was thinking wrong. 3 don't respond at all. 4th one says I'm geographically undesirable. Boston, Denver, Denver, Boston, fair enough. 5th one, chronologically undesirable. Too old. Fair enough again. 6th one, just check the no box. No big deal. I've had my no box checked many times over the years. So now what do you do? What do you do in any situation when it doesn't quite work out like the master plan? Do you get frustrated? Easy to do. Or do you get more fascinated about what it is going to take to make it work? Do you get discouraged? Easy to do. or do you get more determined to make it work? Do you let it be painful and harbor the pain, or do you choose to be playful? See, when you choose to be playful, something good usually happens, because playfulness is at the root of creativity and innovation. When you let your little kid out to play, you're more focused on creative solutions than you are getting stuck in what the problem is. And playfulness is a wonderful way to build rapport with people if it's done right. To operate that old, are you doing it back home? Good. That GPS system. So I chose to be playful. I wrote back Becky. Becky was the one who said I was chronologically undesirable. I wanted to prove to Becky that the best things in life are just a little bit older. Dear Becky, I'm writing to inform you that I reject your rejection. I appreciate the time it took to reject me, but at this time I'm taking no turndowns of any sort. See you Saturday night at 7 o'clock. Dress casual. Bring a sweater. And please email me directions to a restaurant of your choice or your house. Well, you never know. She could go for it. She writes back, Dear Scott, it appears you have a sense of humor. For your guts and your persistence, here are directions to my house. Yes. See you Saturday night at 7. Saturday night comes around. I follow the directions that she said were to her house, and it turns out to be her house. We go out. We have a great time in Boston. Since that time, she's been to Denver 3 times. I've been to Boston 3 times. We just took a cruise for her grandmother's 85th birthday, and it really looks like this will be the lady that I will marry. It could have happened that way. You read about it happening to people just like me all the time. She never wrote back. But it's only been like 2.5 years. I mean, you know how some people aren't checking their emails. When they get around to it, they'll check it. And I bet you anything, she's on dial-up. You know how slow dial-up is. It takes forever, right? But you think she got a kick out of it? I'm sure she did. You know she forwarded the email on to her friends with a note saying, you're not going to believe what some geezer, that means older person, from singlelonelydesperate.com sent me. And you think I'm getting a kick out of it? It's one turn down in a series of thousands. And I get to share it with you. You see, life can make you bitter, or life can make you better. Do you let it be painful, or do you choose to be playful? And I know it's a frivolous example, but the truth holds no matter what the situation is. I love what Viktor Frankl said in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. He's talking about his experiences in the concentration camps. And he said, everything can be taken from a man except for one thing, the last of the human freedoms, the ability to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. It's the ability to operate the GPS. So let's look at a few ways that you can develop your own unique sense of humor, that you can truly take responsibility for a little bit of play, so that you can use humor as a tool to be a more effective leader, to sell more, to be more creative, more innovative. Let's have some fun with it. All right. One way to tap into your unique sense of humor, and the highest form of humor, is self-effacing humor, self-deprecating humor, really coming from a place of humility. See, being able to laugh at yourself is truly a leadership quality, because when you can laugh at yourself, in a sense what you're saying is that you accept your flaws and your foolishness, your idiosyncrasies and your imperfections, then people can't laugh at you. They have to laugh with you. Jim Collins wrote the best-selling book From Good to Great. In the book, he starts with 1,000 companies that he pares down to 150. Finally, only 11 companies can he find that have sustained greatness for 15 years. And he compares them on all kinds of levels, and he finds that the CEOs, chief executive officers, the leaders of these companies, have two things in common. Number one, a professional will to succeed. So no matter what happens, they stick to what's important, they get through. And number two, they have a sense of humility, a self-effacing style. They don't take themselves so serious. They realize that they need to put their ego aside because maybe at some subconscious level they realize the number one killer of good decision making is ego. Now, I'm not sure what your opinion is of politics in America, but George Bush's ratings right now are as low as they've ever been before. And he's being coached that he needs to not be so arrogant. He needs to be a little bit, or come across a little bit more soft, more from a place of humility. He was recently speaking in Canada. He was coached. When he was asked by the media, how is your reception here in Canada, he responded, it's one of the only countries I've been to where they waved at me with all 5 fingers. Right? The ability to bring the humor back on you. See if you can laugh at yourself, you will always have good material and you will never stop laughing. Number one, self-effacing humor. Second way to tap into your unique sense of humor is to create an environment that supports humor. Create a culture that supports humor. You know, so many places around the world's workplaces, employees aren't honored or appreciated. And that's why the employees aren't as engaged in their work as they could be, because their boss or their manager is just too uptight. You may hear the question, hey, have you been uptight your whole life? Not yet, I haven't. Right? Give me time. I'll be uptight for longer. But wouldn't it be nice if we could let them see the value of humor and really appreciating each other in the workplace? Ken Blanchard has been a management consultant for over 30 years. He's written 20 or so books. And he said in all of his years of consulting and writing, the best idea he ever came up with was from his first book, The 1 Minute Manager. The concept of catching people doing something right. When do you usually find out how you do in an organization or what you're doing? When you do something wrong. But the most effective form of management is MBWA, management by wandering around, truly catching people doing something right, honoring people for the good job that they do. It helps create the environment where people care, thus laughter and humor flourishes. Now, I'm very fortunate. I've had the same employee for 17 years, Nancy McGraw. After 1 year of working together, Nancy and I sat down and we said, okay, how can we better serve our customers and how can we better serve each other? And we came up with job descriptions for each other. And the job description was the exact same, and that's what made all the difference in the world. It was to create each other's perfect world. Now, my perfect world revolves around fun and flexibility. Flexibility to come and go as I please, flexibility to create, and flexibility to make a difference in whatever unique way I want to make a difference in the world. So if you ask Nancy what she does for me, she'll say the stuff that doesn't show, which is just about everything. Now, Nancy's perfect world revolves around her son David and really her mother who lives in Texas. Nancy lives in Colorado. So any opportunity to spend more time with David or her mother, we'd provide. When David was out of school, Nancy could take more time off. When David was sick, Nancy would spend more time. If Nancy needed to be with her mother, she could spend time with her mother in Texas. What we do is not brain surgery, so we're a little bit more flexible at creating flex time. And then, of course, if ever I wanted to surprise Nancy or give her incentive, I did it with David or her mother. So her 50th birthday was real easy. David, by this time, was going to school in Washington State. He called home from school a few weeks before Nancy's 50th birthday and said, "Mom, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to be home for your big birthday. Got a test up here at school, and I feel bad, but I know you understand." Well, she did understand, but of course she was disappointed. Forward to her birthday. She's working a half a day. Phone rings. By the way I'm talking, she thinks it's a client. October 23rd, can you hold on 1 minute? I just need to check something. Cover the microphone or the phone. "Nancy, can you do me a favor? Can you run to the boot of my car and get my road calendar for me?" She had done this before. So she took my keys, my car's right outside. She runs to my car, opens up the boot. There's David in the trunk. Surprise! And once we revived her, she was somewhere close to that perfect world. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we worked in an environment where people were trying to create our perfect world? What if we tried to do that with our coworkers, with our customers, with our friends, with our family? You think that would set the stage for more play? I think so. Because then you create that I care, you matter approach to the workplace, where we can actually customize our incentives to help motivate our employees based on what their perfect world is. It's creating rituals that could be more positive, productive, and fun in the workplace to remind us that work doesn't have to be so serious. Now, I'm not saying goof off all the time, because I know you're busy and you don't have a lot of time, but simple rituals. How about taking one sick day? You know, people call in sick, and sometimes they're not really sick. They may call up and say, "I'm calling in sick." "You don't sound sick." "I'm sick of the place." Is that not sick enough for you? How about taking one sick day, making it a call-in well day? A wellness day, where you can call up and you can say, "I'd really love to come to work today, but I just feel too good. Love you." Or how about having a positive party funded by negative people? Here's how it works. You have a place that's designated the wine zone. You want to complain about something, you have to go to this designated spot, the wine zone. It could be a storage closet, it could be outside somewhere, and you can scream, you can moan, you can do whatever you want in the wine zone. But if you are caught whining outside of the wine zone, it costs you $2, which goes into a positive kitty when you collect 30 or 40 bucks. You have a wine and cheese party, or a positive party funded by negative people. You can have theme days. You can have a director of mirth that's in charge of a bulletin board full of humor. We can share humor at meetings. There's so many different ways that we can do it. And the first 10 minutes of every workday are the most important when you get to work, because that sets the tone for the rest of the day. Create a culture that supports humor. Right? And the third way is planned spontaneity. It sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? Planned spontaneity. But we've all been in situations that we've been in before, especially in the workplace, right? So how about if we have planned comebacks for those situations? Me and a friend are watching a speaker, and the speaker falls off the stage. Once we didn't see any blood, and we realized the speaker was okay, my friend turned to me and says, "Hey, Scott, what would you say right now if you fell off the stage?" So I thought about it for a minute, and I said, I'd probably say something like, "Oh, don't mind me. It's just a stage I'm going through." I said, "What would you say?" He said, "I will now take questions from the floor." So the next time I fall off a stage, I'm going with, "I will now take questions from the floor." Have you ever been in a dinner party and you're in the bathroom and somebody rattles the door to get in the bathroom, what do you normally say? I'm in here, be out in a minute, right? Next time, try this. Come in. I've been waiting. You want to spice up a dinner party, that will spice up a dinner party. Now, I try to make travel fun. I try to make it fun for me, and I try to make it fun for those I come in contact with. Right? If I check in and the lady or man behind the counter says to me, Mr. Friedman, where's your final destination? I'll look at them and I say, well, I'm really, really hoping it's going to be heaven. But today I'm just going to Jakarta. Right? So what is it for you? How many of you are in sales that are watching this? Right? You ever get a call on the phone and they say, yes, can we get a quote over the phone? Sure you can. The road to wisdom is long and hard. Wear comfortable shoes. Would you care for another quote? Or how about you're trying to land that big account and you call me and say, yeah, I'd like to meet with you if possible to discuss your insurance needs. Yeah, why don't you come back in about 10 years? Well, would morning or afternoon be better, sir? Morning. Oh, good, because the phone guy is coming in the afternoon. To be a little bit more playful. It's amazing how people respond to playfulness. Planned spontaneity would be number 3. And the fourth one is to become a good storyteller. Good salespeople are good storytellers. Leaders are good storytellers. They engage you in those stories. And there's nothing like storytelling that transcends cultures. But there's a few rules in telling stories. Stories, like humor, we need to remember that less is more. Sometimes we think that we need to get every single detail of the story told, but in actuality, if it doesn't help get you to the end of the story, or is not a funny aside, it probably doesn't need to be in there. So, how about playing the game half the words exercise? Write out your story, however many words it is, cut it in half, those words. And chances are you'll have a much better story when you cut the words in half. When choosing your stories, it's best to use more self-effacing or that the stories that show that you have a sense of humility, where you're a little bit more vulnerable, where you learn the lesson from something that didn't go right. Because it makes you seem more human, more real, more approachable. And whenever you're telling a joke or a story, you always want to frame the punchline or what you want them to remember. So you stop, pause before the punchline or the punch of the story, and then you deliver the line, and then you pause and stop again. Right? And subconsciously you're saying in the minds of your listener that, okay, this is important, that you really need to take it in now, and then you give them a chance to laugh or to respond to the story afterward. Some good storytelling tips. All right, so to activate the GPS, your own unique sense of humor, number 1, a place of humility, self-effacing humor. Number 2, create a culture that supports humor. Number 3, plan spontaneity. And number 4, become a good storyteller. Of course, don't forget the one humor break. And when talking about creating the GPS, the gotta place them, a better sense of humor, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about coming from a place of gratitude. Took a wonderful course called Living from Vision. In the course, I was encouraged to start a gratitude journal. To actually every night write down 5 to 10 things that I was grateful for that took place during the day. And it's amazing how everything seems to come into your life. When you're happy, when you're grateful for all of the things that you have. First of all, when you're grateful and you're focused on what you have to be grateful for, you're not focused on what doesn't work in your life. Coming from a place of gratitude helps abundance flourish in your life. So come from that place of gratitude. I'd recommend that you go out and get yourself a gratitude journal and see if you notice a difference. 1-minute humor breaks, 4 different ways to tap into your own unique sense of humor. Most importantly, the gotta play some. All right, are you up for it? Can you play? Okay, ready? We're going to end now with this, a little pledge, okay, that I expect you to take to heart. So if you would, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. I can hear you at home. You said state your name, didn't you? It's good to see the humor is kicking in. I'm going to assume for the purposes of this exercise that you know who you are. Keep them up. Promise to look for the humor in life's inconveniences. And I promise to operate my GPS. Come on, everybody, let's do it. And I promise to give myself permission to be happy because I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And I don't care if people like me. I like me. I am awesome. Love you. Give yourselves a hand. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Scott. We have a few questions from people online and in the studio audience. One person says, I have a friend who isn't funny at all, and she can't tell jokes. What do you do if you're not naturally a funny person?
Well, you can be a student of humor. I mean, so many times, how many people do you know that they try to tell a joke and they get to the punchline and then they just totally forget about what the punchline is? And they've, a lot of people are like that, right? So we can be a student of humor. We can appreciate humor. We can still operate our GPS by just what we were talking about, by taking yourself a little bit lighter, all right? By the planned spontaneity and looking for humor on the internet or in cartoons or road signs in the newspaper. We don't have to be able to tell jokes or even be a naturally funny person to appreciate humor and grow our sense of humor. Thanks for the question.
Another question, if someone is on the brink of committing suicide and you have a chance to save them, what would you say to him or her?
Well, that's a pretty heavy question. I think the most important thing is to make them see the value inside themselves and make them realize that they're making a permanent decision based on a temporary emotion, and that we all go through stages in our lives where we don't feel so good about our lives and who we are, and that we just need to sink ourselves into something that's positive, to do something, take some kind of action to where we get out of that funk that we're in. That remember, the only purpose of darkness is to transform it into light. So however we need to do that this is eventually going to become a learning experience and will help them strengthen who they are. I remember after my brother passed away, I wrote a poem that I think can help us through those tough times. And the poem goes, there are times in every life when we feel hurt and have a lonely heart, and our life, it has no meaning, and our world is falling apart. These are times of growth as we emerge with a new awareness, more insight, more understanding, a strength in character. We're now ready to reach new heights. So ride the weathered storm, look further than just today. You'll come out like a shining star, and you'll be a better person in every way.
Thank you. Another question is, what are some of the best ways to cultivate your humor? What are some of your best resources for finding humorous materials?
If you go to my website, www.funnyscott.com, and you click on resources or links, I think it's links or resources, I have a section on there that has some really good humor sites. But if you just type in humor, or humorlink.com is another one, there's all kinds of sources on the internet, some wonderful sites. I would just spend an hour exploring it, and you'll be amazed at how much stuff you'll come across.
Our last question, what is the greatest challenge about being involved in humor and a humorous motivational speaker?
Trying to be funny all the time. You know, when you're not that funny to start with, I think it's a little bit of a challenge. You know, I feel so grateful to have a job as a motivational humorist. The reason it's a motivational humorist is because if the audience laughs, it's humor, and if it doesn't, it's motivation. So you don't have quite the pressure to be funny all the time. So I'm not sure how to answer that question. What's the biggest challenge? I think the travel probably would be the greatest challenge, and being away from your family, and so not having a family of my own, except for parents and a sister. It's a little easier for me. That would be the most challenge for somebody with a family.